Today on the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement.
We are going to discuss one of the most commonly asked questions prior to retirement. That one being, do I have enough to retire?
And on our Coach's Corner, we're going to discuss some retirement hurdles that many people face going into retirement.
And on our Chalk Talk segment today, we're going to show you some key factors that you need to plan for in order to be successful in retirement.
So sit back, relax, and learn. The Chad Slagle Show starts now.
I'm Chad Slagle. I believe financial planning is about educating people and empowering them to make better decisions with their hard-earned dollars. Coaching gives me satisfaction from watching a player succeed and get better. You need an experienced team around you. The best coaches have great assistant coaches. I have brought a lot of the techniques and structure I learned from playing and coaching football and apply them to the world of investing. My goal now is to coach as many individuals and families as I can on how to get successfully to and through retirement.
Welcome in to the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. I'm Wendy Erickson, here with the coach, Chad Slagle. Today on the Clipboard segment, we're going to discuss one of the most commonly asked questions prior to retirement, and that is, do I have enough to retire?
When we think of retirement, we think of a new chapter in life, one to enjoy. Unfortunately, many people, many of you, view retirement as a finish line, and it shouldn't be viewed that way. It should be viewed as the beginning of a new life, one where you have another 25 to 35 years to enjoy, to do what you want to do, and not worry about punching a time clock or taking orders from a boss you do not exactly like. You need to start thinking about what you want to do, what brings you joy and makes you happy. What hobbies are you going to take up? What trips and destinations are you going to go to? Too many retirees today are thinking about retiring from something and not retiring to something. You have a long journey through retirement, and it is very important to make sure the journey is one that you live to the fullest. Remember, when you get to retirement, it is not the beginning of the end, it is a new beginning. And one question we get in our office all the time, Wendy, almost on a daily basis is, do we have enough to retire? And that is the question we're going to help you answer on today's show.
I love that question. Do I have enough to retire? And I always want the answer to be yes, but I know we were talking about retiring, and I like what you said, new chapters. That's what I like to think of my life has been in chapters. So the retirement chapter is one that's going to be a little bit easier and a little bit more fun and enjoying whether it be grandkids or whatever. So I like that. Not the finish line, but a new chapter is what I'm going to call it.
And the big question, you know, hopefully you get an education, you get out of college or high school and you get a job. And the whole thing is to do what? Work long enough. Build up enough money where eventually you can get to that goal line, which is retirement, and be able to have that 25, 35 years to enjoy it. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because that's one of the big questions that a lot of you watching today, and really all of us have, is when can I retire? When can I stop working and still have that income coming in to be able to enjoy life? And that's what we're going to talk about today. And you need to understand there are some hurdles that you have to overcome, and there's some key factors and key things you have to do to structure your portfolio, to structure that game plan, so you can be successful in retirement, and that's what we're going to be talking about today on the show.
Something to look forward to, something not to fear.
Absolutely right. It should be an exciting time. Just you don't have to get up in the morning. You get up whenever you want. You don't have to go to work, but yet you're going to have income coming in to be able to take vacations, spend time with your family, and do exactly what you want, and not have a boss breathing down your shoulders telling you what to do and making you punch a clock.
But somebody like me in pre-retirement phase, it might mean a little bit of work and planning.
You have to plan absolutely before.
All right, and then we have the show to help people get a lot of that done. When we return on the Coach's Corner, we're going to discuss some hurdles that many people face going into retirement. We'll be right back.
The number one concern of retirees today is outliving their hard-earned dollars. It is more important now than ever to educate and empower yourself to make better decisions with your money than it has taken you 30 to 40 years to accumulate. How do you do this? By using our Financial GPS, our guided planning system. This is a 4-step process to help get you successfully to and through retirement. The first step in this process is to create clarity. Here we will help identify your goals as well as your concerns and identify what you want to accomplish in retirement. The second step, we will analyze the risk you're taking with your current portfolio, and this step will also identify exactly what you are paying in fees. In the third step, we will evaluate and assess your current plan and help identify the gap between the missing pieces. And in the fourth and final step, this is where we will work together to implement a plan of action to accomplish your retirement goals. And this process can take place at any one of our convenient locations in Missouri and in Illinois. So call now to get set up on that right path on your journey through retirement.
Welcome back to the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. We are back with the coach, Chad Slagle, and his colleague, Chad Tobin. And today on the Coach's Corner, we're going to discuss some retirement hurdles that many people face going into retirement.
That's right, Whitney. We all face hurdles or difficulties in life, and we have to overcome those hurdles in order to be successful. And when it comes to retirement and planning for retirement, there can be many hurdles that come up. One of the largest ones that we see today in our practice is that we are now living in a pensionless society. Think about this. Just 9% of workers in their 50s will have a pension, which is down from about 25% 3 decades ago, and 46% don't even participate in a retirement plan or a 401k. So as you can see, savings are limited, and the Trump administration says unless something is done to shore up Social Security, payouts could be cut by 21% come 2034, according to MarketWatch. And this is a huge storm coming in the next 10 to 15 years, and it's all because people choose not to prepare. You are on your own today. You can no longer depend on the government or your employer to take care of you. You need to be proactive and take care of yourself and your family. So it is now more important than ever to build that game plan, that blueprint for retirement, to Chad, to help avoid these difficulties that we see a lot of our clients running into day in and day out simply because they don't have a plan.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. This is something that, it's very hard to plan for, difficult times when it comes to your own life. And it's hard to have things set up when something bad happens, that you're there and you're still in a good situation. But in retirement, you have the ability to start building that game plan pre-retirement so that things in retirement you have control of.
All right, so why don't we discuss some of the hurdles that the people out there are going to face?
Well, the first one we have, of course, is do I have enough to retire? And many people think that the magic number out there you have to have is $1 million. The problem we see, though, people focus too heavily on that number they need to retire and not enough on the expenses and lifestyle and what they want to do in retirement. And the thing is, everyone's different. When we talk about retiring, yes, you need to take into consideration your lifestyle goals, your family dynamics, your income needs. But also you have to think about, a lot of people ask us all the time, how much do I have to have coming in when I retire? And there's an old rule of thumb, Wendy, that says you should have 70 to 80% of your pre-retirement coming in when you retire. So if you're a married couple and you have $100,000 a year coming in while you're working, when you retire, you should have 70 to 80% of that, so $70,000 to $80,000. However, I would tell you today, after being in this business for over 25 years, we really don't see that a lot today, Chad. What we find is a lot of retirees today need the same or more money coming in when they retire. But again, it depends on your lifestyle and what you want to have and what you want to do in retirement.
Yeah, and I think, Chad, you often ask the question on the show, and we talk to our clients, we ask them what day of the week do you really spend the most money when you're retired, and obviously, or when you're working, excuse me. And most of us, while we're working, we spend the most money on Saturdays. Well, as you just mentioned, every day is a Saturday when you're retired. So we have to plan for that when it comes to knowing what kind of income we're going to need in retirement.
I've had a couple expensive Saturdays in my lifetime. All right, what's another hurdle?
Another hurdle that we see is bad debt. Oftentimes we see people come into our office thinking about retirement, and then they have that one hurdle they can't because they have that debt. Whether that be from debt from higher interest rates and any lack of potential tax benefits such as credit card debts. Personal loans, auto loans, or another one we see a lot of times is people borrowing against their 401k or their retirement plan.
Yeah, and I think this is something that, what we see is people don't really think about this until all of a sudden they're getting ready to retire, and now it's too late. So you really have to start taking care of some of this bad debt, 5-10 years prior to retirement. Make sure you can kind of clean that out of the portfolio.
All right, get rid of the bad debt. That's a good one.
For
now,
sure.
What is the next hurdle?
Another big question or hurdle that we get is, when do I take Social Security? And this is one of the most common questions we receive day in and day out. And you see, oftentimes we see people decide to draw Social Security at age 62 because it is the earliest, of course, you can draw it, and they don't do any planning before making that decision. Or we see people do the opposite. They wait until 70 because they know Social Security is going to grow at that 6, 7, 8%, so they don't want to cut into. So what happens, though, they do not draw Social Security. Instead, they go in, Chad, and they draw from their own savings, their own 401k, which could have huge tax consequences. Plus, that lump sum of Social Security, when you pass away and your spouse passes away, that does not go to your beneficiaries, but your 401k, your retirement plans do go to your beneficiaries.
Yeah, and I think, we've had some Social Security experts on the show in the past, on the radio show a few years ago, and there's so many different circumstances and so many different options when it comes to Social Security. But you just have to build your own plan when it comes to Social Security and what's best for you, your family, your spouse, of when to draw that, and know those answers so you can make that informed decision.
All right, the last hurdle you say are healthcare costs.
It's one that people do not think of. That's right. The biggest problem we see with retirees is underestimating the cost for health care and long-term care. And what is the one thing, of course, when we talk about health care? In other words, if you're going to retire at 62, 63 years of age, you have to think about until you get 65, when Medicare becomes your major medical, and then, of course, you have a Medicare supplement. How are you going to pay for that? Because, we've seen $1,000, $1,500 a month for a couple to be able to have that health insurance. So you have to figure that into your budget if you retire early, before 65, but also long-term care. This is one thing that a lot of retirees do not think about. If something happened to you and you had to go to the nursing home, need some kind of an assisted living or home health care, in our area today, you're looking anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 a month. Just think what that's going to be 15, 20 years down the road. And this is one expense that could wipe out everything that you've owned if you do not plan properly.
Yeah, and it's a conversation that nobody wants to have. Many of our clients have experienced it with their parents or grandparents, and so it's hard to really wrap your mind around it unless you've been in that situation. But it's so important to have a plan in place so you can fall back on if you need that kind of care.
All right, some great information. Coming up on Chalk Talk, we're going to discuss some key factors that you need to plan for in order to be successful in retirement.
Let's go.
He's such an involved dad. He's always telling the kids stories. I remember when so-and-so said I couldn't do this or I didn't make this team. That's what drives him. In our family, we always tell our kids to stick up for each other, stand behind one another. He feels it's his role to provide, keep us safe, and to make sure that the kids are taken care of. A lot of Chad's clients have the same traditional values, and he bonds with them. Each family has a different set of circumstances, and each family is unique and different. The common thread between all of Chad's clients is that they want the best for their family, just as he would our own family.
Welcome back into the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. So we just discussed some of the hurdles that many people face going into retirement. Now we want to discuss some key factors that you need to plan for in order to be successful in retirement.
Many of you know that picking out your retirement date can be a difficult task. When am I going to retire? In order to pick that date, you have to make sure you have the answers to some critical questions. And the three most common questions that we see almost on a daily basis in our office is when we sit down with a prospective client is, have I saved enough for retirement? How can I know for sure my savings will last after I stop working? And number three, I'm concerned I'll spend through my savings too fast and run out of money before I pass away. And these are questions that many of you sitting at home continue to stress over. And that is understandable because this is one of the most important decisions that you will ever make in your life. So it doesn't matter if you have $5 million, $500,000, or $50,000, pulling the trigger on retirement is never easy. And there are many things that pre-retirees need to consider before retiring. So now we want to discuss some key factors to plan for that will help you be successful in retirement, no matter if you're 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years out, and no matter what the size of your portfolio. But you want to make sure that you set that date, stick to it, and then if you have to adjust it once you get to it, that's something that you can do.
Yeah, and I think some of these things, when it's everyday life or when it's in building for retirement, some of these things are easy to overlook. And these key factors are things we're asking you don't overlook into retirement because it could harm you in retirement.
All right, let's start with the first key factor.
First key factor, of course, number one, build that blueprint or that game plan. Build strategies to retire on time. So the first thing you want to do is see to have, if you have enough to retire, working with the retirement specialist can help you plan for that. If you realize that you may be a little short on savings, here are a few of those strategies that you can use to help you retire on time or catch up. Number one, save more aggressively. Try to set more money aside for retirement the few years before you retire. You want to try to, if you have a 401k or company plan through work, you want to max those out. You want to try to put 15 to 20% of your salary away if you can. And of course, delay retirement. Consider staying at your job for a few more years. This could make a huge difference. And number three, spend less in retirement. Consider downsizing to a smaller home. Be more conscientious about your spending. And I know a lot of you probably have not done this when we talk about a budget. But when you get to retirement, it's not a bad thing to build a budget. It's actually a smart thing because then you can figure out how much money you need for those hobbies and that lifestyle and those fun things you want to do. And maybe you skimp on some other things. Maybe you get rid of that cable TV and you watch Netflix so you can have that extra money maybe to spend at the golf course.
Well, the things you're saying don't sound too much like too much fun. We got to save more, we got to work longer and spend less. And none of that sounds like a lot of fun. But if you do some of these things and you can put some discipline in your life there, it's going to pay off in twofolds, threefolds in retirement.
Key word there's discipline.
That's right. We all need a little bit more of that.
That's
So
right.
What is another key factor?
So speaking of discipline,
Yeah.
pay off the bad debt. Get
it.
rid of the bad debt. Like we mentioned before, you want to pay off the bad debt first, such as credit cards, personal loans, auto loans, anything with high interest payments that you can't write off. And think about this, the higher your debt payments are when you retire, the less you will be able to spend on other things that you want to do. So you want to make sure you wipe out that bad debt first. And other types of debt, of course, would be college loans, mortgage. You know, and we talk about that's not really bad debt because a lot of times, you know, what you're paying on your home, that's a write-off on your taxes, Chad.
Yeah, and I think, you know, a lot of our clients or people that we sit down with, you know, the ones that are stressing the most pre-retirement are the ones that are carrying some of this debt that they just haven't paid off, or maybe they can't see themselves being able to pay it off by retirement. So, you know, less debt in retirement is going to be less stress in retirement.
All right, so after we pay off that bad debt, what else should we take into consideration?
The other one is game plan for Social Security. And you know, when it comes to Social Security, we tell everybody just keep it simple. And there are many factors to consider before deciding when to draw Social Security, such as, are you going to continue to work? Do you have another income source coming in? Do you know exactly how much income you'll need coming in each month in retirement? As many of you know, Social Security grows at that 8%. So an example would be someone born between 1943 and 1954 would receive $1,000 a month at their normal retirement age of 66. If they decided to draw Social Security early at 62, their monthly benefit would be $750. If they wait until age 70, that same benefit would be $1,350. So the answer here is there's not an answer. The thing is, you need to keep it simple. If you want to retire at 62 and you need Social Security to live off of, then you start drawing it. If you're going to continue to work till 63, 64, maybe even up to 66, then don't draw that Social Security out. And the other thing, as we talked about earlier, I do not recommend that you put Social Security off, don't draw it, and then go draw from your own 401k and your own personal savings and start dwindling that money down, because Social Security will not go to your family. Your non-qualified money, your 401ks, your IRAs, that will go to your beneficiaries upon death if you plan properly.
Yeah, and I think there's really no cookie-cutter approach when it comes to this decision, but it's almost like doing a math problem backwards. You need to really understand exactly how much income you need coming in to kind of take care of your expenses, and part of that is understanding what's going to be best for you to draw Social Security.
All right, and the last key factor?
The last one is prepare for health cost in retirement. We've talked about if you're going to retire before 65, have a game plan for the health care costs. But the biggest one that we see today is not planning for those long-term care expenses. You need to have a plan. Whether that plan is pay for it out of your own pocket, go out and buy long-term care insurance, or one that we recommend is life insurance with a long-term care. That way, if you don't need long-term care, you're able to pass this nest egg or this benefit onto your beneficiaries tax-free if something were to happen to you. So that's something you need to research, think about what is the best way to plan for that long-term care, because that is the one thing that we often see, Wendy, that people do not plan for.
All right, well, when we come back on our strategy plate, the Chads are going to answer some important questions that retirees face today about outliving their retirement nest egg. Stay with us.
The number one concern of retirees today is outliving their hard-earned dollars. It is more important now than ever to educate and empower yourself to make better decisions with your monies that it has taken you 30 to 40 years to accumulate. How do you do this? By using our Financial GPS, our guided planning system. This is a 4-step process to help get you successfully to and through retirement. The first step in this process is to create clarity. Here we will help identify your goals as well as your concerns and identify what you want to accomplish in retirement. The second step, we will analyze the risk you're taking with your current portfolio, and this step will also identify exactly what you are paying in fees. In the third step, we will evaluate and assess your current plan and help identify the gap between the missing pieces. And in the fourth and final step, this is where we will work together to implement a plan of action to accomplish your retirement goals. And this process can take place at any one of our convenient locations in Missouri and in Illinois. So call now to get set up on that right path on your journey through retirement. Welcome back to the Chad Schlegel Show, coaching you to and through retirement. On this week's strategy play, we're going to answer some important questions that retirees face today about outliving their retirement nest egg. And a couple questions that we want to share with you here today on the strategy play are questions we get on a daily basis in our practice because people are unsure about a lot of things as you get closer to retirement. The one question that we get, first of all, Chad, of course, is, do I have enough saved to retirement? Can I retire now?
And I think, a couple important bullets that you need to kind of consider is, what's your Social Security? Do you have a pension, or do you have any kind of pension-like income that you're going to have in retirement? What are your expenses going out every single month that you need to make sure those are covered? Then on top of that, to enjoy retirement. And is there a shortfall? How much do we need to draw from the extra savings and investments? With all of that, when we have those answers, we can understand if you have enough saved or not.
And a good example would be if you need $6,000 a month coming in, your Social Security and pension are only going to be $4,000. That means you have a $2,000 a month shortfall, and that has to come from your 401k and your own personal savings. Number two, how can I know my money will last after I stop working? When you make sure that you have that income stream coming in each and every month for the rest of your life, no matter how long you live.
Well, and I think this is important because a lot of people we see, they're solely relying on all the money in the stock market to draw an income, and we call it that 4% withdrawal rule, or what is that distribution rate? And they're using some distribution rate or withdrawal rule that was kind of came out from an advisor in the 90s going all the way back to 1927 with some of that data. So times are changing. We have to look into the future, not into the past, and understand forever income versus maybe income. And as we talked earlier, protect yourself for those long-term health care expenses.
That's right, Chad. When you retire, if all of your money's sitting in the market, it may or may not last. Because number one, you have no idea how long you're going to live. And number two, we don't know if the market's going to go up or down. And of course, number three that we want to share with you that we often get in our practice is, at my current spending, will I run out of money when I'm 80? And this is probably the biggest concern of retirees today because, as we mentioned, less than 20% of American workers have a pension. Now the burden's all on you, and you want to make sure that you have an income stream that's going to last throughout the rest of your life, maybe 75, maybe 80, maybe 95 years of age. And as Chad mentioned, you want to make sure you have that forever income or that guaranteed income, not that maybe income.
Yeah, and just kind of going back to your income sources, know where they're coming from, your expenses. But what we see so often, Chad, is just making sure you're not solely relying on that maybe income and that Wall Street world. You got to have a balanced income plan using all three worlds to invest your money. And most importantly, protect those assets for the unknowns, for health care. And if there is any left, make sure that's passed on as a legacy.
Are you unsure about when you can retire? Do you need help building a game plan to get you successfully to and through retirement? If so, we encourage you to give us a call today, and that's this week's Strategy Play.
If you have any questions about today's show, or if you'd like for us to discuss a new topic, email us at askchad@slagelfinancial.com to have your questions answered on the show. We'll be right back with some of the key takeaways from today.
Your host, the coach, Chad Slagle, and joining
I'll be with you guys in just a few minutes.
When it comes to your health, your life, your family, your home, and your hard-earned dollars, of course you want to make sure you're working with that sharp, energetic, knowledgeable individual that is always looking out for your best interest.
Such short notice, appreciate it. Thanks.
It's time to get your financial house in order. This is the new age of retirement planning. In the Wall Street world, that's what they talk about. You got to have
Now back into the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through
We
retirement.
are Slagle Financial. Call now, 888-294-9248.
Welcome back once again to the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. We've covered a lot of information today. What would you say are the key takeaways, Chad?
Number one, create proper strategies to help you in retirement. And also, when it comes to retirement, set that deadline of exactly when you want to retire. Don't change that. Just change your strategy as you get closer. Number two, build a game plan or that blueprint of when you want to draw Social Security. And keep it simple. If you're going to retire at 62 and you need the money, draw it out. If you're going to wait and retire at 65, 66, then you may want to consider waiting to draw Social Security. And number three, prepare for your health care costs. If you're going to retire before 65, build that into your budget. And of course, those long-term care costs in retirement, make sure you come up with a game plan to protect yourself from those unknowns.
Well, Slagle Financial and their team of advisors have educational events coming up in your area to make sure you are prepared for today's retirement. For more information and to sign up for one of these events, call 888-294-9248 or visit chadslagleshow.com.
Remember, folks, success is waking up in the morning, whoever you are, wherever you are, no matter how old or young you are, and bounding out of bed because there's something out there that you love to do, that you believe in, that you're good at, and you can hardly wait to get at it again today. At Slagle Financial, realize that this is bigger than our team. It's about educating you, the public, and our wonderful clients, and empowering you to make better decisions with your hard-earned dollars. For my colleague, Chad Tobin, my co-host, Wendy Erickson, this is the coach, Chad Slagle. Thank you very much for joining us. We look forward to visiting with each and every one of you next week.
Clothing for the Chad Slagle Show is provided by AL Custom Clothiers, a custom men's clothier that understands the value of offering our customers the best for less. ALCustomClothiers.com or 314-570-6000.